Hey, it's Webs here again with another Hearthstone deck video, and boy oh boy, don't let me ever create a deck at 4 in the morning ever again, because it never works out. But this video isn't about that, it's about Secret Rogue, one of my favorite rogue decks of all time. But with a little bit of a twist, including a miniature Deathrattle package in order to control the board better. Or at least that's the reason I told myself when I was combining these two deck ideas together. For the Mulligan guide, you usually want to keep cards that will either generate you more cards or let you cycle through. However, with Plagiarism, you kind of want to use it on a later turn in the game, so you can gain a bunch of resources from your opponent instead of just 1 or 2 cards. And depending on which matchup you're facing, a card like Ambush or Extortion are great early game removal tools for you to counteract a more aggro-based strategy. Cards you definitely don't want to keep in your hand are cards like Shadowjeweler or any of the Deathrattle cards, as you want to try to keep them in your deck so that your sketchy informations are online. You also do not want to include in your opening hand, if you have the choice, any of the higher cost cards such as Shekzara or the Grand Empress. These cards are used to finish off your opponent whenever you need to, or refill your hand in the case of Grand Empress. That being said, let's get into the games. Alright, time for game 1 against Hunter. Here we're just going to mulligan the entire hand away since none of it actually works by itself. And we mulligan into 3 secrets from a handful of secret support, which is better than the secret support with no secrets, but still not the best to see. Drawing into a Sparkjoy cheat though is actually pretty great. Turn 2, we can definitely use something like Dirty Tricks in order to draw 2 cards whenever they spell. Or the Ambush, because I'm assuming it's probably some type of base hunter. Since it definitely isn't secret, unless they're not playing it turn 1. There was actually a game where I got a copy of the Hunter's questline, where I actually almost completed it before they did. And I think I lost that game because I got too greedy with trying to complete their secret. Or maybe I barely won it, I don't remember. If I barely won it, I would have probably included it in this video instead of this. Unless this is the game. I don't think it is though. Just going to play the Counterfeit Blade, which will trigger the Ticketmaster's Deathrattle once it dies. Going to play one of the cheats, drawing into the Infiltrator, which isn't bad per se, but we would have honestly probably preferred to have that on the Counterfeit Blade instead. Wonder what type of hunter they actually are. Because so far they've just been playing a bunch of beast support cards, so I'm assuming it's probably something with leather kit, but they're not playing any cards that would make me think that. Or at least any minions to make me think that. Going to play the second cheat. Malevolent Strike is actually a card that honestly is really good in this deck. It gives you a way to deal with big taunts if your opponent is using any big taunts. So you can finish off your opponent pretty quickly with the flesh bearers that you're summoning from the Ticketmaster. Like, Deathrattle is so close to being an actual deck by itself, but so far at the same time. We're going to get all the spells that they used, which is really only 1. I was kind of curious what Aimjoy because of us being a rogue instead of a hunter or a mage, but I guess that answers the question. Going to grab the Arcane Intellect. So early on, I actually included Octobot and a small engine in order to trigger it. However, it just felt awkward to use most of the time, and sure, you could discount Shekzara here and there, but you really didn't ever really need the extra 1 discount. Just going to kill the taunt. I don't think there's anything they can actually do from this position, so we should just be able to win the game. Oh yeah, there's most definitely not anything they can do. We can play Shekzara and then just win. Alright, time for game 2 against Paladin. Just going to mulligan everything but the Ticketmaster away, because if we had to choose one of our Deathrattles to keep in our opening hand, that would be it. Running into a sketchy information, which kind of sucks when we have a Ticketmaster in hand, but oh well. Also having the Blackjack Stunner in hand with no secret also sucks, along with the cheat. Drawing into Shekzara is also kind of bad. I wouldn't say our hand is bricked, but it's pretty close to being actually bricked. We can just kill the minion here. So here we actually have a lot of options, and we draw into the second Ticketmaster, which sucks. We actually might have wanted to use the sketchy information here in order to get the infiltrator out of our deck. So we wouldn't have 2 dead sketchy informations in case we draw into the second one anytime soon, or even the infiltrator before we draw into the second one. Drawing into secret passage, which is fine, but our infiltrator is just going to go face. So I'm assuming they're hand buff, but they don't have their jewel kit, which is going to make their life a little bit difficult against us. Them playing an Overlord kind of sucks though for us. I need to get rid of that card as soon as humanly possible. Just going to play the Ticketmaster, then play the Wand Thief, grab the Brain Freeze, which allows us to get rid of it instantly. So they have the 4 Dragon in their hand. So a bunch of their minions are going to start getting really, really big, but we should be able to deal with it still. Just going to play the Infiltrator and unclog our hand a little bit. I think there I was thinking I had a secret and then I just forgot about it. That I didn't, which sucks, but oh well. Can't always play 100% correctly. Now, that is a big Argent Protector. Like a really big Argent Protector. Oh, the good news is we can bounce back the Infiltrator and actually get rid of their big minions on board. So we didn't misplay, right? Right? No, we did. It was honestly a huge misplay by playing the first stunner. But sometimes it works out in the end, so no big deal. It would be nice to have been able to use that Shadow Step for, I don't know, Shekzara in a turn or two. It's unlikely they have any type of heal. We're going to get our ambush here. So there's a few things we can actually do here. Play the Shadowjeweler into the secret passage and hope we get a secret, or use a Shadow Step, but we're just going to do the secret passage turn. Turns like this is one reason why I actually did include secret passage in the deck. I should have also just played the dirty tricks first, but oh well. Gonna generate another card. Judgment of Justice is actually really good in this type of matchup. It'll allow us to deal with one of their big threats without actually having to have any resource for ourselves. Libram of Hope. So their hand buff Libram Paladin, I guess. Drawing into a Malevolent Strike, which is great. Going to play the Counterfeit Blade. There's actually something really funny you can do with the Counterfeit Blades where you can, if you really need to, trigger it instantly with your hero power. But most of the time you just don't want to. It's never worth doing it. I probably should have grabbed the second Judgment of Justice there, just in case, but oh well. I wanted something that would feed back into the Shadowjeweler as quickly as possible. Them getting Blade Master that buffed up sucks, but it's gonna trigger our Justice, which is great. I sadly don't think we'll see any more support for Secret Road before Shadowjeweler rotates out. I get why we won't, because if they get 1 or 2 more good cards, it could actually be very problematic. However, I really wish the deck would. Going to board clear here with the Blade Master. And we win. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss how well the deck did and why I built the deck the way I did. Overall, the deck performed extremely well, which is kind of a shock since no one's really playing Secret Rogue right now. However, I expect that's mainly due to the fact that there was literally no new support in the new set, and it's much like Rush Warrior where both decks are competitive. However, there's either better options within the class or no one wants to play a deck that has literally 0 new cards in the deck. Along with the fact that this is actually more of a control style deck, and control for the most part is kind of dead at the given moment. However, by using some of the cards to support Shuffle Rogue within the deck, you gain another win condition besides just controlling your opponent to death, along with gaining access to some other control tools that support Shuffle Rogue as a deck, such as Malevolent Strike. This card is really strong when you have a bunch of tickets shuffled into your deck with Ticketmaster, and with the fact that you can also draw all your tickets with the Grand Empress, you can easily refill your hand with more control tools once you empty it out, thus giving you easier access for a late game turn with Shadowjeweler with a bunch of secrets in your hand, or even just having a bunch of options to deal with a bunch of minions that your opponent would sometimes play. I would say overall this deck has a nice mixture of draw power cards and control tools in order to actually perform relatively well, which is a nice change of pace instead of the grouped Rogue, which is running around right now. I really wish Deathrattle Rogue had some better support right now. They have a bunch of cards that work perfectly fine by themselves or in a small package. However, there's not enough cards to make a standalone just Deathrattle Rogue deck, which is the reason why I included the secret package, as I thought it would be a unique way to try to combine the two ideas together. I really did try to make some weird Deathrattle Rogue deck that only ran 2 minions. However, it ended up not working out so great, and the reason why I said don't let me make a deck at 4 in the morning, because those decks never turn out that well. It was kind of funny when it actually did managed to pull off the combo that I was trying to do, but it was so inconsistent I couldn't bring myself to making a video about it. But anyways, given the fact that Deathrattle Rogue got some support in this newest set, however it didn't really get a big payoff, I could see them definitely supporting it more in the mini set that's coming out. However, I don't know what you would include in the deck, because in order to be consistent with the Deathrattles that you trigger off of either sketchy information or counterfeit blade, you would need to run a low amount of Deathrattle minions within the deck itself, which is the problem that I actually ran into with any variant of the deck that I tried to do, which is why there's only 3 Deathrattle minions in the deck, and sometimes you'll draw into a sketchy information after you have drawn all your Deathrattle minions, and it's just a dead draw, which feels kind of bad. And speaking of cards that kind of feel bad in the deck, but I didn't know what else to include, if you weren't used to how Secret Rogue works, Shadowjeweler can actually be quite an awkward card to use in the deck, just for the fact that most of the time you're going to want to try to play it early, but that's usually always a mistake, as you might be able to trigger its ability once, but you want to try to make sure you can trigger as much as humanly possible so you can get as many secrets that will help you survive for a longer period of time. And the card that definitely felt the worst in the deck was probably Secret Passage. I really hate Secret Passage, but it's a great card to try to refill your hand or mulligan away your hand temporarily so you can try to get access to some control cards, which is why I only included 1 instead of 2. I know a lot of people would probably want to include 2 instead of 1, but I decided against it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and until next time, bye bye.